Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's that time of year again. It is the NCAA Men's Bracket Tournament Challenge. Again, it is March Madness, baby. One of the best times of the year if you're a sports fan, college basketball fan. I love March Madness. It's one of the best sporting events, period, of the entire year. It's always a great time to be here. So yeah, I know this channel is mostly video games. If you are somewhat frequent viewer. But as we did last year, I want to put my picks out there and do my bracket because it's really something everyone does, no matter if you're a sports fan, college basketball fan or not. Seems like it's something everyone watches, everyone fills out a bracket. So I think it applies to everybody. I might do a more dedicated sports channel at some point, just because I do enjoy sports as well as video games, not just college basketball too. So I might do that at some point. But this is going to go on to my just main channel for the moment. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing there. So yeah, I'm going to fill out the bracket, give you my 2 cents on the bracket and all the matchups and everything, who I think is going to go where. Just disclaimer, not some ESPN analyst or paid, like data or stats guy or something. Like I'm not a professional at this. I'm just a guy who likes college basketball. He's done some research. He's watched a lot of college basketball, of course, in March as well. And yeah, I think I have a decent understanding of most of the teams. I've seen most of them play. I've done a lot of research stat-wise, as well as just the eye test on a lot of these teams. I think I have a pretty good understanding of the team. I have a decent track record in tournaments and bracket pools, winning them, picking the right winner overall. Like I did last year of Kansas. That won me basically all my pools. And I've been doing that 2 years ago too. I didn't pick the right winner, but still had most of the other things right enough to the point where I made up for it. I picked Virginia a while ago, or I think it was a couple of years ago that they won. Picked North Carolina. I want to say that was like in 2016. So that was a while ago, but yeah, I don't know. I'm okay at it, and I do some research. I like watching college basketball. The tournament, obviously, but also just, catch games on TV, so I have a decent grasp of the teams. But as far as, picking, just copying my picks, I mean, you're free to do that. I don't really care, but I'm always a believer in kind of go with your own method, go with your own gut. Don't just copy a bracket off of somebody's YouTube video you see. Even if that poor person knows more about college basketball than you. It's the reason the fucking analysts on NCAA, like March Madness, like channel, their brackets usually are shit. And then some random fucking dude who has maybe seen a game all year before the tournament does pretty well. So yeah, it's all random. I try to kind of formulate it and try to get something going here, but it is what it is. So yeah, let's just go down through the games here. We're going to go region by region, starting with the South. So yeah, the South here. We're going to region by region, round by round. So yeah, South here, first matchup, we got Alabama versus the winner of Texas A&M Corpus Christi or Southern Missouri, I believe. That game's actually about to tip off as I'm recording this. And it's probably going on as this video is being uploaded or uploaded. I expect Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Analytically wise, I believe they're a better team. I've seen Texas A&M Corpus Christi actually play in their tournament as opposed to the other team, and they looked okay for what they were. So I'll roll with the Islanders. Either way, Alabama's gonna smoke either of the teams that come out of that. Don't really need to go into too in depth on that, but Alabama, 1 seed, tremendous team. We'll get more into depth on them later when it actually matters. Next, the 8v9 coin flip matchups. Got the AT Maryland out of the Big Ten and the West Virginia Mountaineers out of the Big 12. Personally, I like West Virginia to come out of this game, a 9 seed, to play Alabama. West Virginia is in a better conference. As far as biases here, I don't really have any bias towards any team. I'm a Notre Dame fan. So, I guess you could say the other Indiana teams, a little, but I'm a Notre Dame fan, and we suck ass this year, so we're not here. I generally come into the bracket with kind of a bias towards conferences as a whole. Not every team in that conference, but as a whole, I like the Big 12. I think it's the best conference. I like the SEC. I think it's the second or third best. I like the Big East a good amount. Those are the three conferences I really like. I am not a big guy on the Big Ten. I don't really put much stock in the Big Ten, the ACC, even though my favorite team's in there. But that conference is down bad this year. I'm not a big believer in the Mountain West Conference for the most part. I think they've been very unsuccessful in the tournament, and their teams generally aren't amazing for being like a kind of major conference. And I'm indifferent about the Pac-12, which is the last major conference I'll talk about. So those are my biases, kind of leaning towards that. And if you're filling out your bracket, that's what I'd recommend, especially if you don't know a ton about like every single team individually. And even if you do, it's just a good rule of thumb. Like some of the conferences are better than others. You trust certain conferences more than that. That's a good rule of thumb for filling out a bracket. If you don't know who to pick, especially for like a tiebreaker. But in West Virginia, not the defensive powerhouse they usually are this year, but they're a good offensive team. I think they're coming out of a tougher conference. I think they're more battle tested than Maryland. Maryland may be a tad bit more talented overall. Maryland also has a problem like winning on neutral or away courts. They've been horrible all year away from home. And yeah, they're out of the Big Ten, which I'm kind of iffy on. I just trust West Virginia to snag a win here. Next, the 5A12 San Diego State Mountain West champions versus the 12 seed College of Charleston. They are out of the CAA, the champions of the conference, of course. So this is a popular upset pick. 5-12s are always something a lot of people look at for upset picks, and you should have like one or two in your bracket, just because they generally will happen, at least one every year. Charleston over San Diego State is just not really something I see. I know it's a popular pick. A lot of people are going to be riding with Charleston, and for an okay reason. They are a 31-win team. They've won a lot. They're an okay squad. The reason I kind of shy away from them is their strength of schedule is horrible. It's, 300 plus. The analytics don't care for them that much. They are 1-0 against the only tournament team they have played, I will say that. But that wasn't like a Kansas or an Alabama that they beat, I know I said San Diego State, I don't like the Mountain West that much. I think they are the best team in the Mountain West. I think they're a good defensive team. They have a bit more of a battle-tested record here. I think they slow the game down, play how they want, play some solid defense, and kind of just out-physical and size Charleston, and kind of just play the game they want, because they're pretty good at doing that, I'll admit. I saw them play in the Mountain West Championship. They didn't blow my socks off, but I think it's enough to at least squeak away with a win over Charleston here. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a close game, or even if Charleston gave them a scare, even won. But I trust San Diego State a little more, even though, historically speaking, Mountain West and San Diego State haven't done amazing in the tournament. The 4v13 matchup here, Virginia versus Furman. Virginia obviously out of the ACC. Furman, the 13 seed. Those guys are out of the Southern Conference, the champions of those. And I like Furman here for the first upset, unless you count the 9, obviously, for the entire bracket. Virginia, not a team I'm really up on this year. They're kind of having a down year. They're playing in a weak ACC. I don't think they're a particularly good team. As far as Virginia goes, I think their offense is kind of lackluster. Their defense is okay for what they are. They've been rather inconsistent throughout the year, I'd say. They can kind of hit or miss, and already a weak schedule in conference. Furman obviously not playing in some amazing conference either, because of just who they are. But they do have some experience playing against tournament teams. This is a fun team. I've seen them play. They're an explosive, feisty team here. I think they get after Virginia. I think they give them all that they can handle. And I think it'll be a close game, as a lot of games with Virginia are. But I think Furman can pull off the upset. I think they'll keep it close throughout the game, even if Virginia's winning the whole time. just as they generally do because they have somewhat of a problem scoring. I think Furman comes away with the win, though. Next, the 6 seed Creighton out the Big East versus the 11 seed North Carolina State out of the ACC as well. I like Creighton a lot here. NC State, I am down on them huge. I don't like the ACC, as I've said a million times at this point. To me, they shouldn't even. They're a questionable tournament team, NC State, at an 11 seed here. They've been very fluky, haven't been particularly good all year, playing in a weak conference. Hell, they lost 3 times to Clemson, a team I think was probably the most overrated and fraudulent and just not very good basketball team in the ACC. Maybe in college basketball, honestly. Creighton, yeah, they've been a little fluky. I think they play in a better conference, have a tougher schedule overall, though. This Creighton team has a lot of talent. They're a well-rounded team. They've got a lot of talent. They can score well. They can defend even better. I mean, I love the players on this Creighton team. The only concern with them is a little inconsistency problem. But I don't know how much I buy into that. I think they're a team that, come tournament time, with the coaching, the experience, and the talent, and the somewhat battle-tested season they've had, I think they turn it on, get a good win against NC State, and get some momentum, and start doing some damage in the tournament. Next, we got the 3 seed Baylor Bears out of the Big 12 versus the 14 seed UC Santa Barbara. The Gauchos, I believe, or Gauchos, something like that. They're out of the Big West, champions of the Big West. I like Baylor here to advance. Baylor, they play in a better conference, and they're obviously a lot more of an impressive resume than someone like UC Santa Barbara. That's not the main reason. I would say Baylor is in the win. I just think they're a little more talented of a team. And despite Baylor seeming almost unmotivated, I would say, is a good way to describe it. They've been inconsistent, playing bad ball recently. I think they're good enough to not get beat by a 14 seed, even if they don't have a great game. Baylor, overall, I just think has the talent and the physicality and the experience that carries them over a 14 seed like UC Santa Barbara. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave them a little scare. Baylor, not a team I'm big on, even though I'm big on the Big 12. Kind of a weird 3 seed to me. A lot of the 3 seeds in this tournament, I'll say just before we go, are kind of weird to me. It's kind of a weak 3 seed line for the most part, being kind of compensated for by even weaker 14 seed for the most part. But yeah, I like Baylor to at least get one round here. Overall, I think they've got the program, the talent, the experience, and, resume to at least eke by, not get humiliated by a 14 seed, hopefully. Next to 7v10, Missouri versus Utah State. Missouri out of the SEC, Utah out of Mountain West. I like Missouri here. I like the 7 seed Missouri. Both teams are okay, stat and analytically wise. Somewhat comparable in that regard. I'll say I'm a lot bigger on the SEC than I am on the Mountain West. I think Missouri, a bit more of an explosive, athletic, and talented team overall than Utah State. They've been playing good basketball recently. They had a good showing out in the SEC tournament. Utah State's a solid team. I think this was just a bad 7 seed draw for them. Had they been up against like a Northwestern maybe, I think Utah State's a much more appealing pick. But Missouri, I don't think they're anything amazing, but I think they're a solid SEC team that is talented enough and experienced enough and battle-tested enough to get past the Utah State. My team from the Mountain West, who is a bit iffy in my eyes. Next, we got the 2 seed Arizona versus the 15 seed Princeton. Arizona, I'm iffy on the Pac-12. I'm kind of indifferent, but they're a talented team. They're a big team. They're somewhat battle-tested. Princeton, obviously the Ivy League champs. You never know what you're going to get with these fucking Ivy League teams. I swear to God, every year they try to do some bullshit. But I think Arizona's good enough to probably handle them and just overwhelm them fairly easily. Next, we're going up to the Midwest. I like Houston over Northern Kentucky, obviously. Best team, one of the best teams in the entire bracket, Houston. We'll get in more when it matters. I like Auburn over Iowa. Not huge on the Big Ten. Iowa, I will grant you, has an elite offense, but they've been inconsistent. Their defense is atrocious, and I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling about Iowa, and they don't have an incredible history of performance in the bracket. Even just getting out of round one, Auburn doesn't have an incredible performance either, but hell, at least they got out of round one last year. Um, Auburn, kind of an iffy team as well. Honestly, I'm not huge on either of these teams. I don't think they're either that great, but they play in a conference I'm bigger on, and I think overall they're a slightly more put together team. I don't know, just well rounded. So I'll ride with the Tigers to eke this one out. Next, another 5v12 here, Miami versus Drake. A lot of people are taking Drake here, and I can understand why. I've seen Drake play in their championship and a few other times. They're a fun team. They're a pretty good squad. That being said, and I know I'm not huge on the ACC. That being said, I'll take Miami here. I trust Miami's coaching more. I think they have an overall talented team, even if it is sometimes inconsistent. I trust them to be able to at least eke by a win over Drake. Drake, yes, they're a fun team. They're a popular upset as a 12v5. They're a solid squad. But you start looking at Drake in the more resume-based stuff. They haven't really done anything or played anybody. They've played one tournament team the entire year. They've got they've got about 200 strength of schedule, 194 to be exact. I don't know if I trust Drake to beat a team as raw, that has as much raw talent as Miami or as experienced coaching. I think Miami gets the win here. Also, not huge on picking incredibly popular upsets because I think those are the ones that often hit the least for some reason, which is kind of scaring me with Furman here because they are also a popular upset. But I really am down on Virginia, so we'll let that one ride. Next over here, we got the 4-seed IU out of the Big Ten taking on the MAC champions in Kent State. So this matchup, we're going to have another upset in this region, another 4-seed going down. It's going to be one of these two, or both of them. So I don't know who it is. I'm just going to cover my bases and pick both. I wouldn't be surprised if both fell. And this is coming from someone who, I wouldn't say is an IU fan, but when I don't have Notre Dame to root for, I kind of default to them. And I've also seen more of IU play than almost any team. Basically, yes, any team in the entire tournament. Just because of, the whole situation with them being on and being, broadcasted the most where I am. And I can tell you, I love Trey Jackson Davis. I think he's a tremendous player, and he's a very good player. That being said, the MAC champions have a very good track record as far as historically speaking, in the tournament. Kent State, I've seen them play a couple times this year, and in the MAC championship, they're a very good team, a very good defensive team. Kent State also not a 13 seed that isn't battle tested. They've been put up against multiple good teams and tournament teams, and they haven't won all their games, obviously, but they've played very competitively with some very good teams over the years, or not over the season. This isn't a team that's going to back down to a big team like a big school like Indiana. I really love their defense. Their guards have been playing outstanding. Their offense has really been coming together. I think Kent State can beat a somewhat inconsistent and, how do I say this, kind of shallow Indiana team. I think if you double Trace, of course, is what they're probably going to do. I really don't know if I trust Indiana's, young guards and, wings to pick up the slack and beat Kent State. I like the guard play, I like the defense of Kent State, and I like the MAC. So I'm going to roll with Kent State. Okay, first play in here, looks like, yeah. You got the 6th seed Iowa State out of the Big 12 versus either Mississippi State or Pitt, out of the SEC and ACC respectively. I believe that game's also today, so we're going to see who that is. My I have a slight lean towards Pitt in that game, but I really can't get a read on either of those teams. I'd say Pitt is probably the better team overall. Either way, I like Iowa State to beat either of those teams. Iowa State been kind of shaky and inconsistent, especially towards the end of the season. Had some injury problems. But that being said, they're very battle tested. I love the Big 12. I think they're a pretty solid all around team. I think they're good enough and battle tested enough to beat either of the teams that come out of here. Particularly Mississippi State, I think would be the better matchup for them. Mississippi State is atrocious on offense. Can't hit free throws, can't hit threes, can't score well overall at all, really, and have an okay defense. Even Pittsburgh, I think they handle. I'm not big on Pittsburgh. I've seen them play. They're in a weak conference, and they're really not that good of a team, honestly. They're kind of, they're kind of mid. I don't know. I just feel Iowa State to handle who either comes out of here for at least the first round. And, get a bid to get advanced to the round of 32. Next, I like Xavier over Kennesaw State. Xavier has an elite offense. They've got some experience. This is a good, fun, talented squad, well coached. They're in the Big East, which is a pretty good conference this year, and they're playing in my opinion, probably I'd say the weakest or second weakest 14 seed. Kennesaw State, it's a good story, making the tournament the first year they can in D1. And Kennesaw State's a fun team, but they're not that good, and they can't handle Xavier and stop them from scoring at all. Next is another good matchup in the 7-10, Texas A&M and Penn State. I like Texas A&M here. Texas A&M kind of, disrespected for the 7 seed. I thought they would be like a 6 or a 5. This team's been playing good basketball. They had a great showing in the SEC tournament, and at the end of the season, this is a very talented, big, physical squad. Penn State also been playing good basketball recently. Have some amazing guard play, and they're a fun team. They can shoot the lights out. I just think when push comes to shove, I like the experience and battle tested of Texas A&M. I like their conference better. I think what happens is maybe Penn State keeps it close for a little bit, but I think ultimately what will happen is Texas A&M comes out, is bigger, more physical, is more battle tested, and kind of just shuts down, gets in their face, and bullies Penn State. Not saying they're going to blow them out or anything. I'm just saying they probably will control the game for most of the game if I had to put my money on it. Next, I love Texas over Colgate. Colgate's a team I like. I've picked them in the past 2 tournaments to do upsets. Have not pulled through either time, even though they got close both times. I think they're probably the best 15 seed in the tournament, which is a bad draw for Texas. Colgate can shoot the fucking lights out. I think they're the best. They are the best 3-point shooting team in the entire bracket. This is a good Colgate squad, but Texas, they're unbelievable. For a 2 seed, I think they're the best 2 seed, hands down. Especially after UCLA lost. I want to say Jaden Clark. I can't remember what that guy's first name is though. 100%. Texas out of the Big 12, the Big 12 champs, have 2 very impressive performances recently against Kansas in both wins, as well as the rest of the Big 12 through their tournament run. This is a very talented team all around. They know how to score. They're the best scorers in the Big 12. I love this Texas team. Down to the West. I like Howard. Not the win. I just think they're an okay team for a 16 seed. I like how they played. And they're a fun squad. Gradually makes the tournament, but Kansas is going to smoke them. Kansas kind of getting disrespected recently, from what I've seen from a lot of people. A lot of people think they could possibly lose second round to like an Arkansas, Illinois, which I think is crazy. I think Kansas is a very solid squad, despite 2 questionable losses from Texas, which I don't hold against them that much. Texas is also a very fucking good squad. Next, we got Arkansas and Illinois. I like Arkansas here. Illinois, I've seen them play. They're in the Big Ten, which I'm not a fan of. Tournament-wise, Illinois has been disappointing for years, and I expect nothing less this year. They're not as talented this year, and they're kind of iffy, inconsistent. They seem weird. I just have bad vibes about Illinois. I don't trust them in the tournament, especially. So I'm going with Arkansas. Arkansas SEC team. I like that. Also been inconsistent and dealing with some injuries over the year, but they're good now. Um, they're a very talented team. I trust them in the tournament, at least for a win. A lot more, and the track record proves that throughout the tournament and just throughout the year. I like Arkansas to win here. That's probably my most out of the 8-9. It's either them or West Virginia is my most confident 8-9. I don't know. Those are all coin flips anyways, so who fucking cares? Next, the 5v12. 5 St. Mary's West Coast Conference versus 12 seed VCU out of the Atlantic 10, I believe. Is that right? Yes, A10. This is a bad matchup. I don't like picking this. This could go either way, in my opinion. VCU, yes, a very weak A10 this year. Not very good. They don't have much competition in that. They don't have the most impressive resume as far as teams played. Or at least compared to the St. Mary's, he has to face Gonzaga all the time, obviously. But VCU, very athletic, explosive, physical team. I think they're a good team. They're a solid squad despite their kind of somewhat lacking resume. They're a very good defense, as always. I think I trust the St. Mary's to at least get past VCU and make it into round 1. I'm scared about that pick. I think VCU could easily win that game. But I trust St. Mary's. They usually get a win in the tournament. They're a solid team. They're also battle tested. I like their coaching. They're usually solid. They won't beat themselves most of the time. But that past performance against Gonzaga, they're trending in the wrong direction at the wrong time. I think they can eke by a VCU team, though. Next, UConn versus Iona. Iona, obviously, and I might pull this up for some of the games. Iona, obviously, got Patino. I really think that's all they've got going for him. And he is a good coach, I'll admit that. But I love this UConn team out of the Big East. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And as we progress into the rounds, I love this UConn team a lot. I don't think Iona does much against UConn, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think they can handle UConn's elite bigs and just overall talent. I think UConn kind of bullies Iona. I'm not going to lie. Next, we got TCU versus Arizona State or Nevada. I have a slight edge towards Arizona State. I like how they've played recently. I think they're a fun, talented squad, somewhat talented. And Nevada has been playing horribly recently. Probably shouldn't even be in the tournament. That being said, I like TCU to win here pretty handedly for whoever comes out. TCU's been kind of a weird team and inconsistent this year, but they've got a good resume. They're in the Big 12. They're a somewhat talented and experienced team. They have a good track record in the tournament. I think TCU has more than what it takes to beat Nevada or Arizona State. I'm not big on either. Next, we got Gonzaga and Grand Canyon. I like Gonzaga here pretty handedly. I've seen Grand Canyon play in their championship. They're a fun squad. They can shoot well and score decently. But so can Gonzaga at an even better rate. And Gonzaga is more, battle tested and more talented. Grand Canyon's kind of iffy. I don't really like that matchup at all for them. Next, we got 7-10, Northwestern versus Boise State. And this is a hard matchup. Northwestern, I'm not big on. They're kind of iffy and been inconsistent and random all year. But then again, I think they're almost a better and more talented or better squad than Boise State. Boise State, though, and they're playing in a, I think, better conference than Boise State. Boise State, though, hasn't been playing bad basketball recently. I think they're a little more solid. I trust their overall well-roundedness a little more than Northwestern. So I'll take the 10 seed upset there. I like Boise State to come out. The Mountain West, they've been so poor for the last 3-4 years here. I think this may be the year where they snag a couple wins. And Boise State, they've got to do something. It's been a disappointment for the past year or two. I think they have a decent matchup with Northwestern here. I think they eke by, beat Northwestern. UCLA versus UNC Asheville. I like UCLA. UNC Asheville's not really a good 15 seed at all. I think they're the worst probably of the 15 seeds. UCLA is one of the better 2 seeds. Great defensive team and offense. I mean, they're just good. We'll get back to them later when it actually matters. What we got here? Okay, Purdue versus Texas Southern and FDU. I expect Texas Southern. I think FDU is probably the worst team in the entire tournament. And Texas Southern has a way of making the tournament every fucking year for some reason. I like Purdue to beat either of them, obviously. They can't handle Jaden Ivey or any of their other players, really. I'll just say this region. This region is probably the worst put together region I've ever seen, or have seen in like my recent memory, in March Madness history. These matchups are horrible and are crime against humanity. I'll say some of these fucking matchups that they put together. Some of the teams they put in the same region here, it's just, this is a horrible draw for a lot of teams. This is a horribly put together region. I think overall this is the weakest region as far as the top seeds are concerned. This is just a weird mosh pit of a region. Next we got the 8 seed Memphis versus 9 seed FAU. And this game, dude, oh my god. Neither of these teams should have been matched with each other, and neither of these teams should be in the seed line that they are. Memphis should at least be like a 7 seed in my opinion, in my eyes. FAU maybe be a 9 or an 8, but especially not matched up with a Memphis. I loved both of these teams coming into the tournament. I wanted to take both of these teams in the first round, but this is what we got, unfortunately, because for some reason the selection committee fucking matched them up for whatever reason. This is a very hard matchup for an 8-9 game to pick. FAU, obviously they know how to fucking win. They know how to score. They know how to play ball. But obviously not as good of a resume. They really haven't played much of anything. Their resume is not exactly the most stellar. Have not played any tournament teams the entire year. As far as strength of schedule, it isn't amazing. Nothing to write home about. Memphis, obviously a more battle-tested record and a more impressive resume. ACC champs. Not the ACC, but the American Conference champs. They have been playing extraordinary basketball at just the right time here, particularly. Memphis, what is this dude's name again? Kendrick Davis is an absolute baller. This kid is going to go off in the tournament, I think. I love Memphis here in this matchup. I love them, but I think they get a slight edge over FAU. I think Memphis is too much for FAU. This is a team that will not back down. It's a talented team. They've been playing good ball. They're battle-tested. They're going to come at them, and they're going to, I think, control the game from start to finish. I think FAU, I don't know how they are. I haven't seen them in any big games. I don't know when the lights are on and they're against a very talented and good, experienced, battle-tested team. I don't know how they're going to perform. I don't really trust them as much as I trust Memphis. Next, we got the 5v12 matchup in Oral Roberts, or Duke versus Oral Roberts. And this is going to be my 5-12 upset. I got to throw in one, obviously. This is going to be my one that I probably trust the most. I take an Oral Roberts over Duke. One of the most shocking things I've seen in watching people's tournament predictions or just seeing what people comment and stuff is how confident people are in choosing Duke over an Oral Roberts, or even deep into the tournament, like the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4 even. It is, to me, insane. And who knows? Maybe in a couple days, I'll be eating my words hard, and I'll look like a fucking idiot. That could happen with any of these fucking games or predictions I have. But Duke, to me, I know they've been playing decent basketball recently. They're the ACC champs, for whatever the fuck that's worth. Duke, to me, it's just, they had a horrible draw. I think both these teams had a bad draw, honestly. I didn't want to see either of these teams go up against each other. I just am not going to fucking bet against Oral Roberts again. I'm not going to bet against, Max. I'm not gonna bet against this Connor Vanover 7'5" pop and shoot center that's absolutely dominating. I mean, I like Oral Roberts here, plain and simple. I don't really trust this Duke squad that much. They've until recently been iffy. I don't put much stock in the ACC. I'm not saying they're a bad team by any means, but I think Oral Roberts is just even a better team. The metrics, despite playing in, what is it? I can't remember what their conference is called, which says they don't also play on a good conference. The Summit Champions, they had an impressive tournament game against North Dakota. They fucking manhandled them. They're a 30-win team. They have experience against tournament teams as well. I think Oral Roberts gets it done. Max and this new 7'5" center, as well as the rest of the team, is going to find a way to get it done like they did 2 years ago. I think Duke probably plays a close game with them because they're Duke and they're somewhat talented, but I think Oral Roberts finds a way to get it done. This is even better squad by far than the 15 seed that made that run. They get it done. Next, another popular upset pick here that a lot of people are, raising their eyebrow at: Tennessee versus Louisiana. I'll say I like Tennessee here. I know they have the injury to, I can't pronounce this guy's name, but Ziegler, a very good guard for them. Or is he a guard? I want to say he's a guard, but he's a very good player. Obviously a big blow to Tennessee. Tennessee's always kind of iffy in the tournament. I think their size, their defense, even without Ziegler, and their overall just more experience, battle-tested resume, gets the win over Louisiana here. I think they slow the game down. I think they play their good defense. I think they have a good offense and can score. They use their size, length, and experience, and just kind of overwhelm Louisiana. And I don't know if Louisiana has what it takes to match them unless they're just fucking on fire from three and really speed up the game somehow, which I don't really see happening. Next, we got the 6 seed Kentucky versus 11 seed Providence. I like Kentucky here a lot. They're due for at least a win or two in the tournament now. Especially after last year at the St. Peter's incident, they need a win. This is a fairly talented and big squad. I don't think Providence has what it takes to match up with Kentucky very well. Providence to me is an iffy team anyways. I didn't even know they were going to make the tournament entirely. I think Kentucky is just a bigger, more talented team. They're going to be hungry. They need a win in the tournament. I like the SEC more than the Big East slightly, but still, I like Kentucky here. Next, we got the 3 seed Kansas State out of the Big 12 versus the 14 seed Montana State out of the Big Sky, the champions of that division. And this is going to be my throw the dart. Probably won't land, but hell, maybe it does, and I get a good boost here. A little point or two over some people. I'm going to take the 14 seed Montana State over the 3 seed Kansas State. I know people are probably raising their eyebrows like, what the fuck you're talking about? And I even said I like the Big 12 conference that Kansas State is in, obviously. I was just looking at it. I wanted 1-3 over 14. I thought Montana State's a good 14 seed, an okay 14 seed at least, metrics wise. I think I saw Montana State play in the the Big Sky Conference. I like the style of basketball they play. They're a gritty team. I think the Big Sky is due for a win in the tournament at this point. Montana State, this is an old, experienced team as well. And yes, they have some tournament experience. Granted, that is getting their shit pushed in versus Texas Tech last year. I think that's a very good team, a lot better than Kansas State. Kansas State, metric-wise, for a 3 seed is very weak compared to a lot of the other 3 seeds. They're kind of an iffy team. I think they're a little bit fraudulent. Again, this is my throw it out there random pick of the bracket. I wouldn't follow this or put much stock into this. I don't really have too much to support this other than I like this and I just feel it for some reason. My dart probably won't land. I just For some reason, I'm feeling this. Next, Michigan State versus USC. I like Izzo. I like Michigan State. USC's in the Pac-12. I don't like them that much. USC questionable performance over the year. Kind of under the radar team, random team. I haven't really seen them play much. They're not a very standout team to me. Michigan State, a little more talented. Obviously in the Big Ten, which is solid. Okay. This is what it is. It's March, though. It's Izzo. Goes together like peanut butter and jelly. He knows how to win. He'll have these teams ready for at least a win over USC. Next, I like Marquette over Vermont. Marquette's a very good team. They're a very talented team. I'm not huge on the coach, Shaka Smart. As far as the tournament season go, I think he has an iffy performance in my eyes in the tournament. But you can't deny what he's done, and the team is very talented. And Vermont's, they're always here. They're an okay team. I just don't think this is a great Vermont squad compared to last year's and everything. That does it for advancing teams to the round of 32. Now let's take a look at the round of 32 and see what we got going to the Sweet 16. Going back up to the South. I like Alabama over West Virginia here. Alabama, just an outstanding squad. The number 1 overall seed. The SEC champions. This team has it all. A very well-rounded team. They're battle-tested, have a great resume, have great metrics. They have a very talented squad, a well-coached squad. This team, I mean, they play in a good conference, so they're champions of it. They have everything you would ever want or need. They're probably one of the most complete and best teams, if not the best team in the bracket. They're one of the favorites to win it. I mean, this is a very good squad. West Virginia, no shade, just kind of an iffy team, especially when going up a team like fucking Alabama. Next, San Diego State versus Furman. This is a weird matchup for me. I don't really like this matchup. I'm not massive on either team. It's just not as big on the other teams they played. But I like San Diego State to win in this matchup. I think Furman kind of runs out of steam here. I think they get slowed down and kind of defensively handled by San Diego State. And maybe it's a close game, but I think San Diego State gets another win here. Creighton versus Baylor, 63. I like Creighton here. I really like this Creighton squad. They've got some great players. They've got some good talent. I think their experience. They have some battle tested in their resume. I think this team gets the win over NC State, turns it on in the tournament, and makes a deep run. This is a very talented and tournament prime team. I'm really big on Creighton. And Baylor, I can't get a read on Baylor. They don't look like the same Baylor. They don't look motivated. They look iffy to me. I'm not huge on Baylor past the first round, obviously. I like Arizona to beat Missouri here. Missouri was a solid team. That's why I trusted them to get the win over Utah State, and they're out of the SEC. They're nothing special, though. Arizona, they're a good team. They're talented, and I think they're overall just a better team than Missouri. I trust them to get a win here, even if it is a close game. Next, we got the Midwest. I like Houston over Auburn. Auburn, again, one of those situations. I'm not huge on Auburn. I just think they're a little more well-rounded and solid team out of a better conference than Iowa and Houston when they go up against them, especially with a healthy team in Houston, which they said it will be. Houston will dismantle them. There's no chance. They're one of the best teams in the bracket. This team is very good. And have played good basketball all year. Next, we got Miami versus Kent State. I think this is where Kent State's run comes to an end. They run out of steam, unfortunately. I'd like Miami to advance here. I know it's a little chalky. Well, not really chalky. We don't have like the 4 seeds or anything in here. I like Miami's coaching more. I think he knows how to make runs in the tournament. I think he's got a fairly talented squad that he can hopefully put together for the tournament pretty well and get them whipped into shape for this. I think they're good, just off a whim, go out and play ball. They have an okay resume. I just like Miami a little more than Kent State in the second round here. Next, Iowa State and Xavier. I like Xavier. Xavier, I'm okay on Xavier. They did get kind of handled in the Big East Championship, but they have a good offense. I think they're a little more solid team than Iowa State. And they're not injured like Iowa State. I think Iowa State kind of falters under Xavier's offensive pressure. And I think Xavier gets a solid win over Iowa State. Next, the Texas is here. Texas and Texas A&M. This will be a good matchup. Fun little rivalry here. I like Texas. As I've said, I am big on this Texas team. To me, Texas is one of the best teams in the entire tournament. They have a very impressive resume. I think second only to like a Kansas, who they've beaten multiple times now, but have also lost to, I guess, once when they were at Kansas. Texas is a very talented team, big team, physical, just like the A&M, but I think they're even more so. They're better at scoring. I mean, I trust Texas to get a win here. I trust them a little more. Next, in the West region, I like Kansas fairly handedly over Arkansas. Arkansas way too iffy to pick in this matchup. I don't trust them enough. They're talented, but I don't think they're put together, tested enough. And I think Kansas is also a very talented squad. They're defending champions. They've got arguably the best player in college basketball and one of the best freshmen in college basketball. A great coach in Bill Self. I mean, this is a Kansas win all day. Next, 5v4 matchup of St. Mary's and UConn. I like UConn a lot here. St. Mary's hasn't been playing great. It wasn't the most inspiring performance the last game they played against Gonzaga. I don't think they can handle UConn's bigs. UConn's a very talented squad. I love their bigs. They've played very good basketball. They're battle tested. I love UConn in this matchup and to advance here. Next, TCU Gonzaga. I love Gonzaga. TCU is a little too iffy for me to trust to advance over a team like Gonzaga. Gonzaga is very talented. They got Timmy. They score a lot. Their defense is getting a little better here. They've been playing good basketball all year. I just trust them more. I like UCLA over Boise State. Boise State, solid all-around team. I don't think they really have the firepower or even will strength to go up against UCLA. UCLA is better on defense. They're better on offense. They're just better all around, in my opinion. So not a pretty chalky region here, but one of the regions is always going to be like that. Next, I like Purdue versus Memphis. I like Memphis here. It seems like the one thing I will say about this matchup is it seems like everybody's out on Purdue in the second round. Obviously, they're not going to lose to a 16. It seems like everybody's taking Memphis, or some people are taking FAU over Purdue. Everyone is counting them out, which kind of scares me to take this. Memphis, though, I mean, they've got a very talented man at guard. They've been playing tremendously. They just beat Houston. Probably should have beat him twice at the end of the season here. I mean, this is a very good team. They are poised for a run. There's always a high seed like this that makes a run. I love Memphis to be that team this year. Next, I like Oral Roberts to advance over Tennessee here. Tennessee, I think this is where the injury and overall lackluster and like inconsistency catches up with them. Oral Roberts, they can score. This team has some very talented players. Everybody shoots on this team. I think they make another Sweet 16 run at least. Tennessee, fluky in the tournament always. They're inconsistent. Their defense is solid, but they're missing one of their best players. I think that's where it catches up with them and Oral Roberts. It might be a good game, but I think Oral Roberts can squeak that game out. So there we go for the anti-shock, the AV12 matchup. Kentucky versus Montana State, my dart throw. I like Kentucky here. Hell, even if Kansas State comes out, I like Kentucky. I think they're primed for a run. I think they're big. I think they're talented. And I think even if Kansas State comes out, they win that matchup. And Montana State is a bad matchup for Kentucky is a bad matchup for Montana State. Because Montana State kind of plays into what Kentucky likes to do. And I think Kentucky's a little more talented in that regard, so I think they win here. Next, we got the 2-team Marquette versus 7-seed Michigan State. I know it's March, it's Izzo, it's the Michigan State Spartans. I just like Marquette here a little more. I don't like their coach as much, obviously, but I like Marquette as a team more They're talented. I love what they did in the Big East. They've been going all year, playing some good basketball. They're a talented squad. I like them to advance over an iffy Michigan State team out of the Big Ten here. Okay, back up to the South for the Sweet 16 to advance to Elite 8. The South region here, Alabama over San Diego State is what I like. San Diego State's not a great team. They're okay. They're pretty good defensively. They don't have the firepower to keep up with Alabama, and Alabama's arguably even a better defensive team than they are. Everything points to Alabama winning here. I think they get Alabama. If I had one team to bet my life on to get to the Elite 8, it would be Alabama. I think they by far have the easiest road. They have to play the 9 seed West Virginia, the 16 seed obviously, a 9 seed, and probably the best team they could play in the Sweet 16 is San Diego State, who I don't think will give them any problems. Next we go down here to 6v12 matchup in Creighton and Arizona. And here we're going to take an upset here. I love the 6 seed Creighton over Arizona. Arizona's been fluke. Arizona's been weird. I'm not huge on the Pac-12. It's not as big on the Pac-12 as I am on the Big East. Creighton, again, a very talented squad. I love these guys. Yes, they're a little fluky. Is this a dice roll? Abso-fucking-lutely. But I think they turn on the tournament. I think they fucking go far, and I think they have an amazing tournament run. Arizona, not unbeatable. They don't have the most impressive resume or anything. They've been beaten by teams worse than Creighton all year. Yeah, I like Arizona to lose here. Or Creighton to win. I don't know why I said that weirdly. But going over to the Midwest, Miami versus Houston. I think this is where Miami's run comes to an end. With an overall kind of weird team. I think it's got a good matchup here. Or a good route to the Sweet 16. I love Houston over here. Houston, a very good team. Miami, they're more talented than Miami. And I think Houston's a better coach, even. I think they're more experienced. I think they're just better overall. I think they get by Miami somewhat easily. Next, Xavier versus Texas. I like Texas for the 1v2 matchup in this region. Texas is an outstanding team. Texas will defend a lot better than Xavier will. I think they can score just as well as Xavier. I think they're bigger. I think they're more physical. I think they're more battle-tested. They're out of the Big 12, which I like more. I like Texas here. Next, versus the West here, which is a tough Sweet 16 to pick for me here. Kansas versus UConn. This is going to be an amazing game. Both these teams I'm high on. I love both these teams. I think they're both two very talented teams. But I like UConn in this matchup to advance to the Elite 8. Reason being, I'm always iffy sending the defending champs deep, even a defending champs as good and talented as Kansas. And I think UConn's bigs give Kansas problems here, quite frankly. Kansas doesn't have any elite or amazing bigs. They have a 6'7" center, if I remember, who's okay. UConn's big. I think they bully him in the paint and inside and on the glass and everything in regards to that. Obviously, I think Kansas maybe has some better guards or not forwards, but guards, especially in Dick there. But I think UConn's guards handle them. I think they play more physical than Kansas. I think Kansas won't be able to handle their bigs. And UConn's a very impressive team, stat-wise, resume-wise. I think they can upset Kansas here. Gonzaga and UCLA. This is a very tough matchup, a 3-2 matchup here. This could literally go anyway. I'm not entirely sure. God, this is a horrible fucking hell. I've gone back and forth on this game so many times in my head and on my other brackets, my personal runs. I think I like Gonzaga. I think I like Gonzaga to advance to the Elite Eight here. I think this is where the injury to... Let me see this dude's name. I got Jalen Clark. I can't remember his first name is. I know it was someone with J and then Clark. I think this is where Jalen Clark's injury, the best defender in college basketball, finally catches up to them. Their defense is hit a little bit here. Gonzaga, one of the best offensive teams in the country. I think they outscore UCLA here. and defend somewhat well enough, or just outscore UCLA. I think Timmy Gonzaga's getting kind of under the radar. This is probably going to be Gonzaga's last elite squad. Timmy, his last year, he's been playing amazing ball. I think he makes a deep run this year again. Okay, over to the East, this fucking mosh pit of random teams we got here. This is a tough matchup for Memphis and Oral Roberts. I like Memphis to continue to run here, though. I'm not going to lie. I like Memphis. Yeah, I mean, Oral Roberts, great team. And if they get here, they're going to be hot. They're going to be motivated. They're going to be wanting to win and make an even deeper run than they did last year. I don't know if I see it. Memphis will not back down at all from them. They're not going to play scared. They're going to come out. They're going to have just as talented of a guard as Oral Roberts does. They have more experience and probably a more better success rate against, top tier opponents than Oral Roberts does. I think Oral Roberts might have played Houston, if I remember correctly, and got murdered. In Memphis, they lost 2 times, but really should have won 2 times, honestly, against Houston. I like Memphis here. And Kentucky and Marquette. I like Kentucky to keep Marquette to keep advancing here over Kentucky. I think this is where Kentucky's run. They get the couple wins they need to, get back into the swing of things. I just think Marquette's a more talented team, has a more impressive resume. I think they've done better overall than Kentucky. I think Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky keeps up with Marquette in this game. Down to the Elite 8. Love this. Going back up to the South, Creighton and Alabama. This game, Alabama, you get down to it and you just realize you can't rationally pick. If you look at stats, if you look at talent, if you look at resumes, you really just can't justify very well Alabama losing to basically any team, most teams in the entire bracket. That being said, I'm going to have them lose to fucking Creighton. I think Creighton gets to the Final Four, gets out of this region in an amazing run. I am big on this Creighton team. Will they lose in the first round because I like them this much and are having a deep run? Probably. And maybe I'll eat my words hard here. But I like Creighton here. I don't know why. There's no stat I can point to of why Creighton has done better than Alabama. They haven't. I just think this is going to be an experienced squad. They're going to be on fire here, playing consistently at this point, hopefully. They're going to be revved up, experienced, and wanting to get to a Final Four. And I think they punch their ticket and get it done. Also, Alabama with the whole Brandon Miller situation. I think it's bad juju, bad karma there. I'm not a huge fan of that. I had him going to the Elite 8, and I think it stops there. Next, the Midwest. The 2v1 matchup. Always a good one here. Whew. And this is weird. Because statistically speaking, you always want a 1 seed. You always want a 1 seed in the Final Four. It almost always happens. But I love fucking Texas here, I'm not going to lie. I love Texas. Texas is a team that has beaten 1 seeds recently, the last game they fucking played. This is a very talented team. They're a committed team. The chemistry is great there. I've seen them play so many. This is just, I love this team. They're talented. They're battle tested. Out of a Big 12, they're tall, big. They've got everything. They know how to put the ball into the hoop. I'm not saying Houston doesn't, but Houston seems like they always fall short late in the tournament here. I don't think they match Texas. I don't know. It'll be a great game. Houston, Texas, and I believe Houston, or not Houston, but in the Midwest region. I think this will be a great game. I think Texas gets a win here, though, and continues their amazing run. Whew. Okay, so we're not going to have a 1 seed make it, which kind of scares me. If you want to take Alabama over Creighton, I absolutely understand. It's probably the more prudent move. I just really love this fucking Creighton team for whatever reason. Here I like UConn. I like the UConn Huskies to advance to the Final Four. This is a great team. I think their bigs are a match for Timmy almost. I think they've got a more talented team overall than Gonzaga. They've got a better resume. I think they bully Gonzaga here. Not gonna lie, their defense I don't think it can handle UConn, and I think UConn can handle Timmy and Gonzaga's offense. Next, you got Memphis versus Marquette. So this is an interesting matchup here. I like both these teams. I think they're both two very talented teams. And I like Marquette to advance out of the East into the Final Four. Memphis, I wanted any reason to pick them here. I just can't justify having this many high seeds in my tournament. I want another 2 seed in there for a little comfort. I think both these teams could easily get to the Final Four. Marquette, I just think, is overall more solid, trustworthy, and talented team overall, and well-rounded than Marquette or than Memphis. I think they play in a better conference. They're a little more battle-tested, even though Houston's got the win over Houston, or Memphis has the win over Houston. I just trust the Marquette a tiny bit more here. The Final Four: Creighton versus Marquette. This is going to be an interesting matchup if this does indeed happen in Houston on April 1st. This is going to be a great matchup. And I can honestly see either of these fucking teams winning this matchup if it gets you. You know what? I feel more strongly about the other side of the bracket, so we're going to skip and come back to Creighton and Marquette. I think Texas gets to the championship here over UConn. I love UConn. Got some very talented bigs and a very talented team. They have a great run this year. But Texas, I think they match their physicality. I think they match their bigs. I think they outscore UConn. I think they out-experience and resume them. I think they're going to be more physical than UConn. They won't back down to a team like UConn, having played Kansas in the Big 12 so long. This is a gritty team. I like Texas to advance into Houston for the national championship. It's also going to be in Houston. Huge home crowd advantage for Texas in this matchup. And in the tournament, national championship is going to be as well. This matchup, the Creighton versus Marquette matchup. Oh my god, I could see, if you are following along a common room bracket, pick whoever you want. Let's pick whoever you want in general in the bracket, but this is a weird matchup for me. Both have top 25 experience. Both have very talented rosters. Both have good offenses. They have experience. I mean, they're both well-rounded teams. I mean, this is a tough. They both play in the Big East, so I mean that's also another Creighton. If you look at their, let's just go to Creighton basketball real quick. Sorry for tabbing over here mid-range. You think I have my picks, but you go to Creighton basketball on ESPN. I wanted to be back on ESPN, I guess, but hopefully their official university site has their. Does they not have their schedule? These teams have played. I was wanted to look at it since they're both in the Big East. They've obviously played each other before, which Creighton's been kind of fluky, so I don't put a ton of stock into their past performances here. But Marquette lost here in an okay, respectable game. Lost by 2 here in a heartbreaker. That was a real tough matchup there for them, I guess. Had a weird loss against Xavier. You know what? Creighton, if they get here, they're playing this hot, they're playing this well, and this team is just that fucking team. Give me fucking Creighton. You know, fuck it. We're taking Creighton. They played Marquette tight the last game, and they weren't even playing theoretically in this hypothetical alternate universe. And they're here against Marquette. They've been playing amazing. I think they can punch their ticket. I do. I love this Creighton team. Will they lose in the first round? Now that I have them in the championship, my bracket will be completely busted. I'll be laughed out and won't be able to do this or have any credibility for next year. Probably. But I love this Creighton team. I could see Marquette in this situation as well, but I don't want 2 seeds in here. the national championship in Houston, Texas on April 3rd. The 2 seed Texas taking on the 6 seed Creighton. Which, I mean, no, I guess, I don't know why the seeds matter because, I mean, there was a fucking 8 seed or 9 seed. I can't remember what seed North Carolina was in the tournament last year. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I like Texas here. I like Texas to win the national championship in this scenario. They're going to have a huge home court advantage in Houston. This is going to be an entirely fucking orange arena here. Creighton, I love their run at this point. They're going to be playing well. This is going to be a very good game. I just think when it comes down to Texas, I love this team. They're the Big 12 champs. They have a battle-tested record versus tournament teams, a very good record versus tournament teams, 11-7. Some of the most quad one wins in the entire tournament behind Kansas, obviously. This has a good record overall. They've got a well-rounded team. All of them can score. They've got good stats. They've got good stats overall in this matchup. They score just as well, if not better. They're more battle-tested. I think this team is more talented even. They're going to band together. I think they got better chemistry. They're even a more stable and secure team to pick than Creighton, obviously. I mean, I love this Texas team. I think they win. I think they win it all. They remind me of a Kansas last year. I remember thinking back to make my bracket last year. I had Kansas winning, also out of the Big 12, the Big 12 champions last year. I remember thinking all the same things I'm thinking about Texas right now. Final score here, just put this, I think this is a 78. No, I think this is an 82 to 70, a 75. We'll go 70. We'll go 78 matchup with Texas and Creighton here for the tiebreaker. I love this Texas team. I think they're talented. I think they are battle tested. They're on a run here. They've got momentum coming into the tournament. They have a decently hard schedule. I'll give them that. Other than, I think Xavier is a decent matchup for them. I think Colgate, they shouldn't have too much problems. Hope to God. Even though I am kind of scared of Colgate. I feel like if they get past Colgate and play well, I think they're kind of set up for the Elite Eight. A good run there. I love this Texas team. It reminds me of Kansas last year. They have the resume. They have the metrics, the stats, the talent. They've got everything in my eyes. It's time to hook them horns, baby. Submit picks. Oh yeah, I'm not even signed in, but it doesn't matter. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I wanted that screen with the confetti coming down over the Longhorn logo. So yeah, Texas as your national champions. I know I have a pretty unorthodox bracket here. I don't even have a 1 seed in the Final Four. I have some questionable upsets, but that's what March is all about, baby. You gotta take some chances, roll some dice, throw some darts. Will they land on what you want them to? Probably not. But hell, that's March Madness, baby. Anything can happen. I love these 4 teams that I picked deep here, and into the Elite Eight. I love all those teams as well. That's what I base this off of. The 8 teams I have the most confidence in, and love the most, and think they have the most talent and potential. So yeah, feel free to comment my bracket or use me as a second decision for any of your questionable picks you wanted a second decision on. Comment down below whether you like my picks or not. Comment down below your picks, what you're more confident on, who your teams are, who your champions are, and let me know. Yeah, like, subscribe if you found it entertaining or thought I had good picks. We'll see how this does in a few days over the course of the end of the month here, obviously. And yeah. Happy March Madness. May the odds be ever in your favor. Hope you win your March Madness pool, get some money this year, and I'll see you guys in the next video.